you might ask how a show that covers the economy and marketplace gives maybe a lot of attention to the idea of policing and police activity and the manifestations, I would say the leading manifestations of our modern executive state. The executive state to which we have thrown ourselves in and embrace. The state that we count on to accomplish goals in our personal lives. We are willing to have a government so great, so big, so powerful, so all-knowing, so rich, of such capacity that we will entrust everything to it, even savings for our children's college degrees. We can even have a special program for that, and many other things we have given over to it. And that is to say, because we believe in the executive state, we want the executive state to succeed. We are confident in its myriad ministries, its myriad cares for us, and are willing to overlook its grievous sins and its many instances of immorality, its gigantic faults, its manifest evils in many respects. And we do that because we are unwilling to have a limited government. We're unwilling to have the civil magistrate, which is to say, that one who wields the power of the sword unto death. We're unwilling to have that party have a limited role, but actually a very great role. And so the executive state is just something we accept. And in many ways, I would like to suggest that, especially among the poor, especially among common people, the police are that picture. They are the idea that not so much the caretaker state for them, but the idea of the regulator state, the moral conscious state, the state that that's always watching you and will make sure you do right. And if you do wrong, well, it is there. Its officer is there to penalize you, to drag you through the courts in a vastly complex system, which I would say is impenetrable. If you look at my story today at Nuganomics.com about Keelan Jackson, you'll get a sense of what I'm talking about. And that's the sense of Catch-22. Joseph Heller wrote the book Catch-22, a war novel back in, I think, probably the late 70s, early 80s. And the idea of Catch-22 is that you are made incapable of doing the right thing. In other words, you can do only the wrong thing. You have two choices, and they're both wrong. And one makes the other one impossible, but the other one has to be done too. And you are in the world of that novel, caught in a catch-22. The system in which the systems all work sort of against each other and are interpenetrating, interangulating, and somehow turning wheels within wheels, some backwards, some forwards, with multiple eyes and friction points and other magical points where things are made to work out, right? They're arbitrarily and capriciously made something to appear just and true, and function properly, right? That's the world of magic, the world that we live in when we believe in the executive state and not have a limited view of the civil magistrate. Now, of course, if you have any background in Christianity from your days going to church, right, as a young man or young woman, you may have heard some about the alternative theory that, of course, is the controlling theory in the world, but which is not often considered in its ample claims upon that particular function, that power of the executive. In the biblical analysis, in the free market analysis, which of course they are together. The free market analysis rises from the biblical analysis, which is to say that about God and his creation and the nature of man and man's problems. You know, the main problem in man being the fall, the sin problem. In that analysis, you have a view of the civil magistrate that's highly limited, and he is primarily judicial. That is to say, his main office is not a presidency or governorship, or even a legislature or a Congress, right? Or a committee, right? It is rather that of the court. So we look to Tom Greenholtz here in Chattanooga as a criminal court judge in Helena County. He is the picture of the biblical model, right? Sherry Patey in city court. She is the corporation court. These are sort of not lawful courts. These are courts of convenience. She also has that function, and that is the party to whom this young woman, Keila Jackson, made appeal. David, to listening to radio, thanks for tuning into my show. We are here at Chattanooga Radio, and the question about Sherry Patey is this: she had been given an appeal for a restricted driver's license, and the response apparently is, well, no, you're too poor to have. You're too poor. The appellant, the person making the petition, is too poor to afford the fines to get a regular driver's license. And so she is being told that, well, there are no ways around it. You can't get a restricted driver's license petitioning on grounds of hardship. You have to go through the whole process. You have to come up effectively with $800. And, well, you don't have to have that all at once, but you enter into the payment plan, which is, according to Keila Jackson, a possible trap in which you make the payment. But if it's not done within a certain time, well, you might lose the whole amount. It might just get vaporized. That's the fear that she has had, and those fears in a meeting yesterday with the two court clerks, did not really satisfy her on that point. And so here's this poor woman who's been banned from the use of the road. She's under what I call a civil death sentence. It's a civil death sentence that you cannot use the road for doing anything. You have to walk or you have to take public transportation. And she is petitioning for a restricted license in which Judge Patey would say, okay, you can use this license to go to these places and to look for work and to meet work requirements elsewhere, though they may not be listed here. That's what she's asking for. In other words, you are forbidden from using the roads for anything or any purpose other than those specified by the judge. So you have what black people used to always have in the South, which was a permit. In the South, black people were not allowed to travel anywhere apart from a permit. And if you go to Nuganomics.com, you can read my further review of Judge Roger Taney's opinion in 1856 on the Dred Scott versus Sanford case. And he's very clear that we can't have manumission for black people because then they would be in one state, because then they would be traveling without permit, without license in all these other states, and they would be free to exercise the rights that white people exercise. That would be free assembly, the right of religion, the right to have gatherings, the right to go and come as they please. These were viewed as intolerable. So here, Keila Jackson, who is a woman of color, is being told she's petitioning to have a restricted license. Just as in, it's almost as if we have a slavery, but the owner of the enslaved person is a different type of person. It's not an individual family man with acres and plantation at his beck and call, but it is in fact the state, the modern state. And I'd like to say that is an accurate change. Slavery we have with us still. We know we have slavery because we have Tennessee prisons in which slavery is constitutional. We have constitutional slavery in Tennessee, and that is the 14 prisons that are part of the Department of Corrections. I believe it's 14 here in Tennessee. And my name is David Toulis. I do thank you for tuning into the program. So go to Nuganomics.com if you want to think about these things and look at the solution. There are solutions that are always there in my work here at 92.7 FM, and that solution is a proper use of the law. I would say God's law first, but if that is to be waited on to be obeyed, then certainly men's laws are to be regarded and to be obeyed, because many of them are quite good. Many of them I would say are quite liberal. Particularly, I mentioned Title 55, the Transportation Code, which is an area that I've been giving a good deal of study to, which is the thing that Keila Jackson ran afoul of in her charge in May of 2014. She was charged by a Chattanooga police officer a good Samaritan who's no good deed will go unpunished. That cliche applied exactly to her. Though she tells me she is not angry or bitter about it, and she is confident that God's good providence will be enacted and lived out in her ordeal. An ordeal, I must say, really of poverty and limited opportunity. And so, what is to be done for this woman? She's too poor to go through the system to have a driver's license, a full driver's license. Does not Judge Patey have the authority or the discretion to order the Department of Safety to grant her a conditional restricted permit? So the meeting came back effectively saying that Judge Patey was saying no, and this poor woman, because she's too poor to get a driver's license, doesn't have $800 to pay, and is not sure about the certainty of payment, the loss of money in the system. That's what she's afraid of having paid into a system and then being told, well, sorry, that went into a different account. That is what she is greatly afraid of. And so the meeting ended, I would say, with probably all the parties or the two sides nonplussed, with Keila Jackson feeling that her petition was not heard. And if a restricted license can't be given, well, what is the reason? Well, hundreds here, hundreds there, and then maybe we can make it work out for you. Well, there is an oppression, and it seems to me manifestly evil. And there are other stories I just want to mention to you here. This is David Toulis, and we have to look at our betters, right? In the news this cycle, there seems to be a strong blue flavor in the news. There's a story in the TFP about a Chattanooga police officer who shoots 3 bullets into a man who's committing suicide. The man has already shot at himself fatally, and a very excited officer Sunday morning in the 400 block of Oakwood Drive, I'm looking here at the Times Free Press version, fires not just 1 bullet, but in the spasmodic way that police officers have, multiple bullets, only 3. I mean, he did show some restraint, firing only 3 bullets at a mortally wounded man. 2 of the shots struck a chair, where we read, while 1 hit the deceased man in the leg. So the man is already deceased. I mean, maybe he wasn't deceased at the moment in which he pulled the trigger on himself, but he is said in the story to be deceased. So he's either deceased or he's mortally injured. All officers on the scene were placed on leave, which is to say paid vacation per departmental policy. And this is David Toulis. Caller, what's on your mind?
Yeah, it looks like 2 bullets went into the sofa or chair, and 1, they said, went into the guy's leg.
Right.
But you got to figure this, too. I mean, put yourself in the position of the cop. If the body's already dead, it's practice.
Well, that's
body's already dead.
I would not.
Practice.
No officer would do that, Mike. I'm afraid. That's
you don't think?
No, I don't think so.
I was just because if I was a cop, I'd be.
They also heard a gunshot, and of course he
like practice.
Well, okay. I would not say that.
Oh, it's like kick the can. The can's there, you kick it. All right, man.
All right. David Toulis. Now, number 2, we have another story also in the same media platform, that is to say, the Chattanooga Times Free Press, and here it is about an officer who is involved. His name is Michael Trumbo, involved in a driving under the influence case, and the Zach Peterson is the writer, and he you can tell he was itching to get to the great paragraph in the story, which is in column 3 of a 3-column play on page B3. And the question is, would an ordinary person have received the same treatment, which is to say, just dismissal? You're let go. The man was going to retire, was going to quit anyway, and the police let go the officer, Michael Trumbo, without a charge because he was going to be let go. So in other words, the police effectively can say, well, we forced him out, right? We forced him out. That is punishment enough. That is punishment enough. Ask whether a non-law enforcement citizen's case would have received the same outcome Zach says Melidia Kluwel, a spokesman for local prosecutors, said, this is just smoke. Okay, here's some smoke. Said that the state considers each defendant's circumstances along with the facts of the case and pushes for the best outcome. Well, what does that mean? The best outcome for whom? The best outcome for what? For the poetic fiction of the state, right? The state with its pretended victimhood whenever there's a crime committed. What does that exactly mean? And there's a quote here from Melidia Kluwel. While many people consider losing your livelihood more severe than a weekend in jail, in this case, it's the better outcome. So the fact that the man resigned, losing his livelihood, that's a better outcome, I guess, for the people, right? Or for the peace and hallowed dignity of our state than for him to be prosecuted. In this case, it's the better outcome, she says. In August the 16th hearing, Mr. Trumbo apologized, detailed his treatment in Alcoholics Anonymous, and said he'd started volunteering with the McCamey Animal Shelter. I knew that my mistake did have a victim, the community, he said. Because of that, I wanted to start to try to repay those who I have wronged with giving back and keeping as much and serving and keep serving as much as I can. Well, number one, in a common law society, there would be no crime here. Okay, there would be no crime because no one was hurt. The man was in his car behind the wheel, and he missed the exit and ran. I think this was downtown, and ran off into a construction area and hit something. He had a slight alcoholic smell on his breath. He blew up 0.144 on the breath test, and he failed some portion of the roadside test. Well, if there's no injury in common law, and I would say in biblical law, there's no crime. So there really is not a case here at all because there's no one is injured. When we have a system of positive law, though, we have everything's written out. We don't have the unwritten common law, and we don't have the minimally written biblical law, which of course is the basis of equity and justice. We don't have that, but we have an extensive code. I have a copy of the Tennessee Code annotated, and I'm just getting started reading it, and it goes on and on and on in endless detail. But it seems though the Zach Peterson is asking the right question, and I would have tried to put it first, but of course the editors of the paper would not have put that as the lead question of here the cop gets off, with no charges, though he had a full test by the cops on the side of the road and so on. His resignation is punishment enough. That effectively is what we hear. Would you hear that anywhere else? It is the appearance of injustice. It is the appearance of, given the legal premises of this situation and the type of law that we have, it seems again that the police under David Roddy are not really in control, and that we have, as I call it, the fellowship of the finger. That is to say, the prosecutor and the officer. They are the fellowship of the finger of accusation aiming at you. You are the bad person. You are the wrong one. You are the evildoer. You, the listener, the bad person. A story that was at Nuganomics.com that had tremendous interest is my report on the Whaley death. Justin Whaley on the 3rd of December was in his car going he was going north on 111 or on Highway 27, going up toward 111 in Saudi Daisy, and he came into a man going the correct way on the southbound lane toward Chattanooga, and that man was James Brumlow, and the head-on collision ended in the death, not an instant death, but a very quick death in the hospital of Mr. Brumlow. And there were 56 days later, there has been a charges filed in the death of James Brumlow, killed as a result. Justin Whaley is a former volunteer Hamilton County Sheriff's Department deputy, some kind of deputy. It's not a full deputy, but a kind of a volunteer position. He's a former military man, a Marine, had served in one of the federal wars in the desert in the Mideast, and runs a a shooting park called Dead Zero Shooting Park in northeast of Chattanooga. And it took 56 days for charges to be filed, for the investigation to be complete. It was in the hands of the Shawnee-Daisy Sheriff's Department, the Shawnee-Daisy Police Department. Jeff Gann and also Workman worked the case. And there is some sense from the wife, Jamie, that now something's happened. There are charges filed against the man who was going the wrong way, who had been drinking the night before. Several charges, including vehicular homicide by intoxication, driving under the influence, reckless driving, due care, speeding, and 2 more. David Lewis is ready.
2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio, Digital FM 95.3 HD.